Hey everyone, welcome back. In this class we're going to look at how we can utilize some of the customizations options in schema compare for Oracle to exclude objects or specific statements from our comparison. So let's go ahead and get started. So here I have schema compare for Oracle open, and I'm actually comparing two of the schemas that we used in our previous sessions. So I'm comparing our widget dev schema to widget test. And here we can already see the differences that schema compare for Oracle has detected. Now, there might be times where there are certain types of objects that you would like to exclude from the comparison results, so they don't get deployed to your target environments. One of the options we have here is this filter option. So if you click on filter setup, here on the left-hand side we're presented with different types of objects that you can select or deselect in order to exclude or include them from your comparison results. So for instance, here you can see in our results we have 3 object grants that exist only in our source, but they don't exist in our target. So if object grants is not something that I would want to script out or deploy to higher environments, I can just simply deselect that. And as you can see, they disappeared from my comparison list. Same applies to any of the other types of objects that you can see here. So roles is another common one that might be different from one environment to another as well. So you can use these options to easily select and deselect and customize the comparison behavior and the list of objects that you would like to include in your comparison. But there might also be times where you want to exclude specific types of statements from the body of your object. So not the object type entirely, but specific things that are included inside the object. So for that, we have additional objects under the Edit Project section here. So if it's the second tab here next to Data Sources, Options. Now we already looked at some of these options as part of the Source Control for Oracle module. And these are almost the same options because we're using the compare engine in the background when working with Source Control for Oracle. So majority of these options do apply to both schema compare and source control. So here you can, as you can see, you can customize the behavior of the comparison. So for instance, you can force column order. So if you're inserting a column in the middle of a table, you can get the compare engine to generate the script in a way that will insert the column in the middle for your target environment, and also preserve the data in the meantime. As you hover over each of these options, you can see on the right side there is a description. So you can learn more about what each of these options are and how you can use them. Additionally, at the bottom here, you can ignore specific statements from within your objects. So for instance, some common ones are white space, comments in your objects, or any of these other options, constraint names if they're different from one environment to another, or index names. And finally, we have some options here to include storage-related statements in our objects as well. We also have a third option here, which is ignoring specific types of objects by name from the comparison. So when we looked at the filter, those filters are applied post-comparison. So first we need to run the comparison, see the results, and then be able to apply a filter. Whereas this ignore option allows you to exclude objects from the comparison entirely. Now this is useful for cases where you have a lot of objects in a given schema, let's say thousands or tens of thousands of objects, and you only care about a subset of those objects as part of the project that you're working on. So just to improve the performance so you don't have to compare all of those objects, you can actually apply these ignore rules to specify exactly what objects you want to include and what objects you don't want to have in this comparison project. And there is documentation on the syntax of the expressions you can use to apply those ignore rules. So you clicked on Learn More, and now we're opening up the documentation side here. So here's the documentation on using ignore rules. And if you scroll down to the bottom of this section, you can click on this link here. And here you can see the syntax for those different types of patterns that you can use to exclude objects by name. Okay, so those were the comparison options and the customization options that we wanted to cover in this session. So far, we've looked at how we can compare and deploy and generate deployment scripts for objects using schema compare. So join us in future videos when we will be looking at how we can compare data from our tables to target environments and generate deployment scripts for those. Thanks for watching.